Hey neighbor, welcome to another oven-fresh episode of SOS. This week's menu features a collection of musician side projects that found a way to stand on their own, succeeding to the point where it feels like they stepped out of the shadow of the original band to make an ongoing success out of something new. It takes time to earn people's loyalty, so when I say that a side project eclipsed the original group, I'm not talking about who sold more records or who was more popular. This is about killer side gigs that lasted and hit the big time. Anyways, I hope you enjoy the video. If you do, then please hit that like button and check out the full SOS playlist featuring more content like this linked down below.
It's a perfect shade of dark blue. Have you ever been alone in a crowded room without you with you?
Andrew McMahon has the golden touch. His writing chops have led to numerous hits across multiple bands, as he cut his teeth in the uniquely great pop-punk outfit Something Corporate, before shifting gears into the alternative rock band Jack's Mannequin. Distinguishing between the two might sound difficult on paper, since Andrew has such a huge personality with an even bigger stage presence when he's banging the hell out of his piano, but Jack's Mannequin was able to bend where Something Corporate was breaking. Well-crafted pop hooks are a gift from the music gods, and this 3-album run between 2005 to 2012 put his melodies on full display, shining bright while the rest of the band created an often moody but complimentary soaring atmosphere. Everything in Transit hit the ground running a mere 2 years after the final Something Corporate record, creating some of Andrew's greatest tunes like The Mixtape and Kill the Messenger, but after scoring a gold certified album, 2 Billboard top 10s, and nearly a decade together, the band that was initially intended as a solo project dissolved, as Andrew McMahon set his sights on the wilderness.
Praise to your Christ, to your God, never taste of the fruit, never stray, never break, never choke on a lie.
Billy Howerdel met Maynard James Keenan in 1992 while serving as a guitar tech. They remained friends, and by the end of the 90s, Maynard had all but invited himself to join the party after hearing Billy's demos that eventually became A Perfect Circle. APC has 2 insanely talented anchors turning up the heat at a curiously artistic angle, cycling through commendable riffage to the bellowing heights of sorrow, frustration, and political hellfire, while bringing some incredible musicians into the fold to work with them, from James Iha to Josh Freese. Early reviews couldn't resist the urge to compare this new alternative rock and metal act to Maynard's main band Tool, but that tug-of-war game ended badly for anyone anticipating more of the exact same. A Perfect Circle launched to the public in 2000 with the undeniable single Judith, and immediately attracted fans even outside of the cult of Tool. Then in 2003, they delivered a second album, Sucker Punch 13th Step, that officially pulled A Perfect Circle out from under Tool's thumb. Every album debuted in the Billboard Top 5, and the songs quickly became timeless for millions of listeners. So when the fans stop begging for the old hits and start showing up specifically for you, that to me is a side project eclipsing a former band and becoming a prosperous standalone entity.
After the disco, all of the shine just faded away.
Effortless, sparks-flying collaboration between 2 musical masterminds is exactly what you love to see, so in the spirit of giving the people what they want, meet Broken Bells. On one hand, you have producer, multi-instrumentalist Danger Mouse, known for being the other half of Gnarls Barkley, and on the other, it's James Mercer, frontman of the beloved indie rock band The Shins. Mercer shocked fans by firing all of his Shins bandmates in one swift blow at the end of the 2000s, leaving the one-man band on hiatus as Mercer accepted Danger Mouse's invitation to start over. The duo's self-titled debut brims with elasticity, shaking hands with melancholy, joy, and all things ethereal to provide a soundtrack for those times in life where you're feeling stuck in limbo. Maybe they played it a bit too safe with the follow-up album After the Disco, but there's still a rich blend of synthetic magic swirling against the more traditional instruments, as Danger Mouse brings a sharpness as the de facto rhythm section, even on their comeback LP Into the Blue. Broken Bells to some might come across dull, but it's their lack of flashiness that keeps me on the line. You know you're getting solid indie-adjacent music that goes down smoother than a pill buried in applesauce, and honestly, it's the most love James Mercer has gotten from fans since those first 3 Shins records changed the game. Kim Deal is many things, but the number one trait that she personifies is music icon. Having played a vital role in alternative punk band Pixies as they influenced an entire generation, Kim balanced the workload of her main band with a fresh startup she called the Breeders. At first, it seemed like more of an under-the-radar thing to blow off creative steam, but as the early 90s rolled in, Kim's relationship with Pixies leader Black Francis disintegrated, and so did that band. This opened the door for the Breeders again, as they thrived in a new environment after Kim brought her twin sister Kelly on board as lead guitarist. Together, the four-piece noisily thrashed their bubble of sound to the masses, with the platinum-certified sophomore album Last Splash landing in 1993. However, after that short-lived period of success, both of the sisters dealt with addiction issues until the Pixies reunions began in 2004 with Kim Deal still in the band. Surprisingly, she stuck around until 2013 before quitting permanently to re-establish the Breeders as they returned to their classic lineup and closed a 10-year gap between albums with All Nerve in 2018. There's a slightly startling oddity about the Breeders and their noisy, quiet, loud dynamics that can be an acquired taste, but I just love the fact that they got so huge with a single like Cannonball, which is a wildly entertaining banger, and the fact that they defeated all of the odds as a 90s side project to just be a lasting band that made an impact on music. Move over, Scott. If you can't get your shit together, someone else is gonna have to. And apparently that someone is Myles Kennedy. We're talking about the man who initially turned down Slash's offer to join a supergroup in order to join a different supergroup the next year with the remaining members of Creed. Myles joined in with guitarist Mark Tremonti, drummer Scott Phillips, and bass player Brian Marshall to lock in the still unchanged lineup of Alter Bridge. Summer 2004 unleashed One Day Remains as their debut album, and it has good moments, but it doesn't hold up that well overall. Fortunately, they cut the crap by the time Blackbird landed, and it is so much better. The evolution into a progressive rock alt-metal band makes a ton of sense when you look at the strengths of each member, and ever since that 2007 album, Alter Bridge has been super consistent. Pawns and Kings is probably the heaviest they've ever sounded, Fortress is a powerful storm overflowing with masterful songs and my personal favorite, and AB3 really went there with the darkness, but I love how intense that album can feel. I guess you could say Creed held arms wide open so Alter Bridge could walk the sky? Or something like that, I don't know. But what I do know is that despite a bump in the road like the album The Last Hero, this is a dedicated group of gentlemen that always seem to find their way back. You might remember Rage Against the Machine and Soundgarden, two of the defining bands of the 1990s. Well, Chris Cornell's band broke up in 97, and Rage met a similar ugly ending in 2000, leaving Chris bandless and Rage without a profit of... wait a minute. Unveiling Audioslave must have been a wild time for everyone involved. Would the pairing work? Would it sound different? Would Chris Cornell be rapping? These are the questions that kept fans up at night, as the at-the-time untitled band and their early songs started leaking online in early 2002, and thankfully Chris was not only not rapping, he was also belting his ass off. Audioslave were an instant hit with Like a Stone, I Am the Highway, and Gasoline among the self-titled debut album's roaring track list that hits with a variety of skilled punches. Tom Morello continued shredding face-melting solos like No Tomorrow, and LP2 Out of Exile, which was my introduction to the band, showed how much the members trusted one another to carry the songs at a moment's notice. That fascinating intuition is sadly not felt as much on their third and final album Revelations, but it wasn't without its moments of grandeur either. It's really not a bad album. Audioslave went defunct in 2007 when Chris decided to leave the band, but just months before his tragic suicide in May 2017, 10 years later, Chris stepped back on stage with Audioslave for one last ride as they played a set and gave a sense of closure to a rather abrupt ending.
Blossom in your soul when you know your heart is light. Electric is the love.
Never have I ever seen a musician that works in as many avenues as Damon Albarn. I'm not even a massive fan, but I have to respect the dedication to both his first highly successful band Blur, the many Damon-adjacent albums that followed, and to his long-term pride and joy, the Blur's side project Gorillaz. This mysterious adventure was the brainchild of cartoonist Jamie Hewlett and Damon, so it makes sense that while one handles certain aspects like directing, overseeing animation, making the artwork, writing the lore, etc., the other goes to work on all things music. Rap, collaboration, and world building were three early tentpoles for Gorillaz, and they still are today. The first album sounded like it was geared more to hip-hop heads than to rock fans, but Demon Days is where they really found that hyper-conductive stride to bridge the gap between genres and tone. Plastic Beach is gorgeously woven any way you spin it. That third album has magnum opus written all over it, and hell, I even like 2017's Humans more than most of y'all seem to, and I think the Song Machine series Gorillaz started is a stroke of genius. Damon Albarn absolutely shed his Britpop image and found another gigantic wave of success that most people didn't think he would ever find again, with momentum continuing to peak thanks to their forward-thinking sound. The zany animated characters might get you in the door, but it's the quality of the music itself that allows Gorillaz to be its own thing, this ever-evolving orb of light built to give a home to many unique voices, styles, and genres. That's the end of this episode, but don't be sad, there's more episodes for you to watch right here on screen. Do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Take to the comments with your favorite side project success story, and if you have suggestions for future episodes of 7 on Sunday, then leave those down there too, and I'll be back soon with more on ARTV.